Well, the results are in, and the lure of socialism is alive and growing across the country, even in our capital of capitalism, New York City. Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani is going to be the mayor of the Big Apple, and with him come some very costly ideas.
This will be an age where New Yorkers expect from their leaders a bold vision of what we will achieve, an agenda that will freeze the rents for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants. Make buses fast and free. And deliver universal child care across our city.
Now, how he pays for all these multi-billion-dollar programs still not clear, but the affordability message that he pitched in the campaign is resonating as polling shows how Americans across the country feel. 7 in 10 say grocery costs are higher than a year ago, and 6 in 10 report that their utility bills are also rising.
The biggest issue for me was all the affordability, the inflation, groceries, and all of that.
How do you pay $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment? It's ridiculous.
Having trouble keeping up with the rent, buying groceries, and a lot of people living in our buildings for years. We've had families there for over a decade, and they can't afford to live here anymore.
And despite a track record of failure across the world, the false promises of a socialist utopia continue to lure people in. Even a growing number on Main Street who feel strained as Wall Street flourishes. Now, the indoctrination of socialism starts in our education system.
College is a place where it's one of the only places where bad ideas can keep living because they never get tested against reality.
But time and again, we've seen nations that have experimented with socialism come hobbling back to free market systems. Could a short dance with socialism be just the kind of real-life education Americans need? We're going to be tackling all these questions with our all-star panel. Plus, campus reform reporter Emily Sturge is going to be helping us understand how a major revolution in education could help us end the radical brainwashing of our future leaders. So let's get right into it. Joining me now for a packed hour, we have Wall Street Journal editorial board member Alicia Finley, The Fixer host on Fox, Marcus Lemonis, NYC councilwoman and immigrant from the Soviet Union, Ina Vernikov, and United Refining Company chairman and CEO, as well as Red Apple Group chairman and CEO, John Catsimatidis. Great to see you all. Thank you for being here. Ina, first to you. Your family came to escape Marxism. Now you're living in a capitalist city that has a Marxist mayor. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it's absolutely devastating. Families like mine escaped socialism and communism. The former Soviet Union was a communist country, and we fled here in the 80s and the 90s for capitalism, for the free market economy, for the American dream. This is the country, this is the place where our parents taught us, if you work hard, you could be anything you want to be, and that's exactly what happened. We came here, we didn't speak English, we had to get accustomed to a new country, to a new life, to a new language. We became doctors, we became lawyers. I'm a member of the government in the largest city in the world, and the idea that everything that we escaped is coming here is absolutely unbelievable.
We should mention, by the way, that you're in a very rare conservative enclave, or at least more conservative than most of New York, where a lot of former residents of the Soviet Union live. So that reflects your opinion, and I assume the people that live in your community as well.
Oh, my constituents are absolutely devastated. We all feel the same way about this.
John Catsimatidis, for those who don't know you, you're in a lot of different businesses, oil, grocery stores, et cetera. How does a business person do business with a Marxist mayor?
It's going to be more difficult. We are hoping that Governor Hochul, who's the current governor, is tough enough to lean on him to make sure he does the right things. Then we have President Trump, who's one tough guy, and he has said to me and has said to people that the fact is that federal funds will keep moving to New York, but I suggested to him maybe put a monitor in to make sure the money is spent properly and doesn't go poof.
By the way, we saw that in the 1970s. There was the Mack Commission, a commission that monitored very closely the budgets as New York was essentially going bankrupt. Is it a similar thing that you want to impose now?
Well, I told President Trump, I said to him, my recommendation is let the people of the city of New York and the state of New York should not suffer. It's to make sure the money is spent properly is the proper situation. And the money should keep flowing, but you should have somebody in there that you trust to oversee it.
Marcus, the fact that the focus is on New York is because it's such an extraordinary situation, the city of capitalism with a Marxist mayor. But this kind of movement you see happening all over America. You've got businesses all over America.
Yeah.
How is middle America responding to all this?
I think the one thing that we have to think about as we sit here today is that affordability is an issue everywhere. It is not just in New York City.
Absolutely.
From Seattle to Minneapolis to Chicago to wherever it may be. But I have a high level of confidence, and you probably would expect me to say this, that capitalism will always win out. And that the idea of socialism is, in my opinion, a good experiment. But you say that we're just going to experience it for the first time. What's going to happen? It exists everywhere. Mm-hmm. It exists everywhere. This idea that people want things for free and don't want to work for it exists everywhere.
But Alicia, it hasn't existed in the Democratic Party for everywhere. And that's the question. Democrats are now clasping hands with Marxists like Mamdani. I just want to play a little bit from Governor Kathy Hochul about a week ago when she fully endorsed Mamdani. Play that tape.
Take that energy, that passion, and take it into 26 so that we can take back the House of Representatives, take the Senate, and we take back America. Thank you, Queens. Thank you, New York. God love you guys.
There was the shot there, the hands raised in the air. So has socialism now become a platform of the Democrat Party?
Well, I think the party is moving in that direction, but you have to actually look at some other places in the country where it's moving the opposite direction. I would point to San Francisco, where you have a Mayor Daniel Lurie who has struck a decidedly different tone, has positioned himself more as a moderate and is trying to tackle the city's problems, homelessness, the cost of living, and has actually tried to welcome businesses, suggested lowering tax rates. And you looked out in LA and you have Mayor Karen Bass, who has been an abject failure. But it looks like the city is actually moving in the opposite direction and may elect a reformer. Austin Buechner, former LA superintendent, LA Unified superintendent, a very pro-business background, is mounting a formidable challenge. So what you see is in many cities around the country, when they swing left, they tend to swing back right. And so I think, and you also saw, by the way, on the New Jersey and Virginia races, they elected moderate Democrats, at least Democrats who campaigned as moderate.
And in fact,
we're not radical.
We've seen it not only in cities in America, but we've seen it in countries too. I mean, Bernie Sanders is always talking about how he'd like to be like Sweden socialism. Well, the Swedish socialists were on the run recently because the fact that their system wasn't working out so well. They haven't veered all the way to the conservative side, but they've certainly dropped a lot of their socialism.
Well, that's right. They privatized a number of businesses, deregulated their telecom sector, reduced their tax rates. They are still very high. And they've, by the way, they've also have vouchers, private school vouchers. Yeah. In some ways, they're actually more of a market system than the U.S. is.
Although I got to tell you, I did the homework, and the highest tax rate in Sweden is now equal to living in New York or California and paying taxes, 52% if you add it all in. So it's, we are becoming more socialists as the socialists are becoming less so. Well, America's Democrat socialists want to take the failed practice of public housing to new extremes, even calling for a complete government takeover of private housing in America. And they want to do the same with medicine. Watch. Presidents Ronald Reagan and FDR represented different parties, but both recognized that government safety nets could suffocate our free market if they grew too big. In a State of the Union address in 1935, FDR said, quote, "Continued dependence upon relief induces a spiritual and moral disintegration, fundamentally destructive to the national fiber." Ronald Reagan put it more simply.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Since then, government has grown far bigger than either could have imagined. But American socialists insist that government's not big enough. They suggest that all our needs, including food, housing, and health care, are a national right. The socialist and ex-mayor of New York has even suggested a government takeover of private housing.
We'll have to go beyond the market. We won't decommodify housing overnight, but we know what we have to do.
Decommodify is Marxist newspeak for removing the tradable value of an asset. But do American homeowners really want to see their single most important asset lose its value? As for public housing, whether in the South Bronx or Chicago, most of those experiments have ended as filthy, crime-ridden failures. Socialized medicine isn't much different. Even Bernie Sanders now admits that Obamacare hasn't fixed health care.
Remember, right now, our healthcare system is broken.
Ronald Reagan would remind Bernie that Obamacare and fully socialized healthcare systems are broken because there's too much government, not too little. Both major political parties used to agree that what made this country the most prosperous in the world was our free market, not socialism. John, what we were hearing from Mamdani is full-blown Marxism. To use a word like decommodify housing means to take the value of a $50 trillion private asset, that's the amount of money Americans have in their homes, and give it to the government. This is dangerous stuff.
Well, we have in New York City, we have what you call the NYCHA housing. And guess what? It was built by government money. People moved in. Guess what's going on? Nobody pays the rent, and nobody's getting evicted. So it doesn't work. NYCHA housing doesn't work. It's some people are paying the rent. Most of them are not paying the rent. Yeah. So what happened? You know, if you compare Florida to New York, right now, Florida has 23,700,000 people. New York is down.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into all those details in a moment. But Marcus, the fact is, despite the fact there's an affordability crisis, I believe, particularly among young people in America right now, you do have some progress being made right now. You look at household income, for example, since Donald Trump came into office, and it is going up. The household income is going up above the rate of inflation. You also have the interesting situation that while Mamdani really campaigned on the idea of higher taxes, that's the only way he's going to pay for all of his extra billions of dollars of programs, New York voters, when they were asked about the question, do you like taxes, 60% of them said taxes actually hurt the economy. So there are all these contradictions in people's views right now.
I think he did an outstanding job of tapping into how people are feeling today. And
yes.
They didn't want a solution. They just wanted to know they were being acknowledged. When you look at New York City or any other major city, commerce is ultimately what determines the prosperity. And if people don't want to be in the environment, they don't want to work here, they don't want to visit here, there's going to be less folks coming here, less jobs, and what we think looks like socialism today is going to turn into devastation. I don't believe that's going to happen.
Alicia, spreading it beyond New York, California just is pushing this new wealth tax. New York would also have a wealth tax if Mamdani's able to convince the people in Albany, the people that run the state, to accede to his demands to have a wealth tax in New York City above what we already have. How many times have wealth taxes failed around the world? People just pick up and move, go somewhere else.
I think that's exactly right. And you saw that in Europe, and that's why the French government has been reluctant to do so despite pressures from their left. Now, in California, they're scrounging for revenue, partly because the pandemic COVID relief money is drying up. The income tax does generate revenue, but that could be also a problem if you have a market downturn. So hence, they are looking for a wealth tax to essentially confiscate the money. I'd also point out that Democrats in Congress, in 2021 proposed what is essentially a wealth tax, and that is a mark-to-mark tax on capital gains, so unrealized income. Now, I would not discount that as a possibility if Democrats gain control of Congress and the White House in 2028.
I believe we have a sound from Senator Blumenthal that I'd like to play, because there is so much spending going on, not just on the local level, but already on the federal level, particularly with regard to Obamacare. Here's Senator Blumenthal. Roll it.
When the Affordable Care Act was passed, health care was a lot less costly than it is now, and insurance rates were a lot lower. So these healthcare tax credits are necessary in light of healthcare inflation to make it affordable.
Ina, it looks like Obamacare is becoming socialized medicine. How did socialized medicine work where you came from?
Oh, terrible. It didn't. There were lines to the doctor. The doctor would use one set of instruments. The quality of healthcare was terrible. And it just doesn't work. It didn't work in the Soviet Union. It doesn't work in any other country.
Right. By the way, my wife had a stroke in London. Thankfully, she's okay, but we had to spend a month in British healthcare. Same in British healthcare. They were very nice people, but they were broke.
They were not very nice people in the Soviet Union.
Okay, probably not. But in London, they were good people, but they couldn't. The nurses had these little pocket screwdrivers with them wherever they went because all the equipment was breaking down. They didn't have the right medicines. People were dying of MRSAs all around us.
And no anesthesia.
No. Oh, God. All right. Thank you, folks. Stick around. Don't go away. We'll be right back.